We are back with Lisa Osteen, Thomas, pastor and also author. She has written the book, You Are Made for More, in hopes of helping people cope with tough situations. Speaking of, you kind of entered the world with a tough start.
I did. I was born with a crippling disease, and the doctors told my parents that I'd probably never walk or talk. But, you know, Deborah, they just, in their simple faith, turned to God and asked God to touch me. They knew that I was made for more than living a life like that. And, you know, in their simple prayer, they asked God to touch me, and He did. I really had symptoms of no muscle tone. It looked like I'd never be normal, but it didn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
But over the next few months, you know, I kept getting better and better until I'm completely well today. Thanks to my parents, you know, and for God.
You mentioned earlier some of the struggles that you had included a divorce, which is what, you know, the big D word.
I know.
You know, anybody who, you know, is in a religious setting, no matter what religion, that is just a tough thing all the way through.
It is hard. And you know what? So many people go through it.
Yeah.
And I was embarrassed and ashamed back then. But, you know, God brought me through it. And I just like to tell anyone that's going through that, you're going to make it.
Yeah.
Because I made it.
And that you have permission to say, if it's not working and we're not good for one another.
That's right.
You know, hopefully you explore every other option, but
yes,
you have permission to say we're not good together.
Yes.
We can be better apart.
Yes, I agree.
All right. Another moment that was tough for your entire family, and again that you look at as a miracle, is when your mother was diagnosed with cancer.
Oh, wow.
And basically given just a few months to live.
She was 1981, and she was only 48 years old, Deborah, and my mother looked like death already. She was yellow, she was thin, and the doctors just set us down and said, you know, you're going to have a miracle. Well, my dad said, well, you know, we believe in miracles, and he said, you're really going to have one. And so we prayed over her, and, you know, my mom, it was hard for her. She was very sick, but she just kept going to church, and she kept reaching out to people, praying for them, visiting people in the hospital when she was sick, and, you know, over time she got better and better.
For any of you who know Dodie, it's funny because she's like, she puts herself last place. She's kind of like going, I don't have time for that yet. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to pray for this. We've been in restaurants before, and she'll look at somebody and go, does that person look sad?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm going to go over there and I'm going to see why they're looking sad.
That's right.
And we'll be in the middle of the restaurant and she's like, and Lord Jesus, I want you to straighten out what's wrong in this person's life. And so, but she's just kind of that person that she didn't focus on what she was going through because she didn't have time to. She's trying to help others.
She focused on other people, and that's such a good point. But because when we're going through things, we think we have to have everything perfect to help other people, to reach out to other people, and it's not true. Because in our adversity, if we reach out to other people, we will feel better and we will get better ourselves.
Obviously, she lived.
She lived. She's
Doctors
78.
were like, what? You're like, what happened here?
Oh yeah, she lived, and she is 78 today. She's healthy and strong. She's travels with Joel. It's amazing.
With that said, let me ask you this. I know there are a lot of people out there who say, hey, we believe, we believe, but our loved one didn't survive. We believe, but my marriage didn't survive. We believe, but... So what do you say to people when you say, okay, it was the power of God that saved this, but then their thought is, okay, but we did the same thing and it didn't turn out that way.
I know. Well, we don't understand everything. And God is not going to answer our prayers like we want Him to every time. But we have to realize that God is in control of our lives. And no matter what we go through, He's going to help us go through it, just like you said. And you know what? We do face tragic times. And the Bible does warn us we're going to have afflictions in this life. But if we still keep our trust in God, we'll come out better off than we were before. I found that in my life.
Yeah, and I love when you say kind of like we're not in control, and you all, the story of course is legendary now of how, I remember when your father passed away, and the article came out in the paper that said, you know, no major church like this where the patriarch has passed away has ever really survived and thrived.
Yeah, good news.
And then they said, of course, they had to add that one last line, of course the worst thing that could happen is one of the sons could think that they could preach. And it actually was the son that no one really thought would, because Joel was so shy and behind the scenes.
He was, and that day he stepped up, you know, to become the pastor. He became my hero because, you know, I had preached some. And so
in fact, you filled in for your dad.
I did. And so I knew what it took to prepare and to learn to preach. And when he stepped up to do that, and he worked so hard. And, you know, he's become such a masterful preacher himself. And I'm so proud of him.
Yeah. So
awesome.
never, did you not think that you would do it, though? Did you ever want to do it? Did you?
No, I didn't. Because, you know, you have to be called to do something like that. I am a Bible teacher. teacher. I felt like I would be a part. But really, as soon as he stepped up, I just stepped up with him, and I said, you know, I'm with you. I'm going to support you. I'm going to be with you. And so we work together. Now my other brother, Paul, works with us. And so we're a good team. But he's the visionary, and he's the one that God wanted there.
All right.
Yeah.
Wrapping up with your book, You Were Made for More. It's been out for, what, a few weeks now?
It has, just 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks, okay. What are people saying to you who've gotten a chance to read it? Because I get that line of God doesn't do it to get you through it. What are people saying that has it helped them?
It has. I'm getting great reports, people that just feel like it's inspired them to be more. I get reports from people, someone who was depressed and said, you know, I realized that I could admit that I'm depressed, and I'm going to go get help just like you got help when you had anxiety. And so I'm hearing great reports. I'm so excited because that's what I want to do, is just help people.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
All right, and your beautiful children, because you also overcame that moment and said, you know what, I was always a mother. I just had to figure out how my children were going to come to me.
That's right. And you know, God didn't answer my prayer exactly like I wanted. I wanted to bear my own children, but we ended up adopting 3 beautiful children. I have twin girls that are 13. We have a son that's 10, and I couldn't ask for a better family, and God knew much better than I did.
They're your children. Lisa, thank you very much for joining us today. And we have books for some members of our studio audience today. For more on Lisa and her book, log on to greatdayhouston.com. Thanks again. Coming up, move over, Florida. You aren't the only ones producing good citrus fruits. In fact, one citrus variety is actually the state fruit of Texas. Do you know what it is?